What is going on, everybody? We got another little different podcast going on. We're going to be talking more fishing and a little bit of hunting. Been talking to these guys for a little bit, and I thought it was going to be mostly a fishing podcast. But talking to our guest today, Bo Thomas, I figured, why not bring Troy Stokes here and talk fishing? But talking to you before the podcast, Bo, that I didn't realize that it was going to be turning into a hunting podcast too. So you could have slept in. But so we do have Troy back on. Like we said before, he's going to be doing our fishing side of stuff and talking fishing with everybody. But Bo, how's it going, man? I appreciate you making the trip and coming in.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good opportunity, to kind of get some sponsors out there and kind of talk some stories with you guys, talk a little bit about fishing, hunting. It's kind of like what I grew up doing, so it's kind of fun getting to do it and talk on a podcast about
it. And that's the biggest thing with these podcasts, man. It's just like meeting new people. I mean, if it wasn't for this and stuff, and obviously our buddy Cade, I feel like we obviously would have never even met,
Yeah, definitely. Cade definitely opened the door for both of us for this opportunity, so got to thank him. So, no, I'm excited to get going.
Yeah. And we do have Zach here. He's going to be a little outside guest today. We'll be having him on here soon. But, you guys heard from Troy, which we'll talk to him in a minute here. Bo, do you kind of just want to introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, what you're about, what you do, where you're from?
Yeah, so my name is Bo Thomas. I'm a full-time fisherman on the Bassmaster Opens Tour. Fished college for all my years at Western Michigan and kind of took the step this year, first year out of college, to try to go make the elites. I mean, the first few years on the tour, I'm trying to really just learn as much as I can and grow so I can further my career and open new doors and kind of just go into trying to learn everything I can so that way when I go and move on, hopefully make the elites one day, I can pursue it and not kind of drop the ball once I get there. So I'm pretty excited.
What kind of got you into like the fishing and like I asked Troy about this on his podcast. What kind of made you have that momentum or the passion for going this route in life, I guess?
For me, it was a pretty easy deal going into it. I grew up around a lot of big names, obviously Mark Zona, Kevin Van Dam, Jonathan Van Dam, my dad. So it's kind of funny when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I think my dad was fishing. He was fishing the opens, traveling with Johnny, and Johnny first got into it. And there's a story behind it. When Jonathan originally went out for the opens when he was like 18, his parents really didn't want him to go just because being so young, and he's still got school and he's got everything going on for him, and his mom didn't want him to go. But my dad kind of was like, don't worry about it, I'll take him under my wing, I'll make sure he's all good, he can travel with me, and I'll try to keep him out of trouble and everything. So
hard thing to do sometimes.
Yeah, so no, my dad really took him under his wing and kind of just took Johnny out there, and it kind of just went its way with it. Jonathan ended up qualifying for the elites and his career took off, and my dad was kind of stuck in the sunset, but I think it really worked out. It's just some of those events. Getting to see my dad on TV and stuff kind of just like really made me want to chase it and stuff. And I grew up fishing for a long time since I was probably 3 or 4 years old, fishing with my grandpa and my dad and my family, and being in that fishing hunting family. It's definitely not an opportunity that everyone gets to go do, and I'm very thankful that I get to pursue it at my age that I am, because most kids my age got to find a full-time job and
right.
Go on doing their thing, and so that the fact that I get to do it at this age is really, really cool. And so no, that's pretty much it. That's getting to see all those guys. I got to meet Kevin when he was really doing his thing in his prime, and it was a pretty easy transition for me to want to do it full-time, just seeing all those guys, how successful they're being, and kind of the exposure that they're getting. And it's kind of like, I would say, a lot of kids my age's dream to want to get to go do it full time and wear that elite patch as a Bassmaster, or whether you want to go on and be on the BBT for MLF. It's definitely an eye opener to a lot of kids, and it's very possible. A lot of kids don't think it is, but I mean, just doing it my first year, I mean, I've had some really good events, and it's very, very possible. I can tell you that. I mean, a lot of kids don't think it's anything that they can fathom, but it goes a long way once you start doing well and you get gears rolling. And I mean, there's a lot of things I learned in college, but this past year fishing the Opens, I definitely learned a big step in my career and just learning how to fish by myself and how to set up for a practice and stuff like that. So,
I mean, with the amount of role models you had around, I mean, it's who can say that they've been around Kevin Van Dam?
Right, that's what I was gonna say. That's the best team yet you could ever have backing you. To be honest, it's pretty cool that you're doing it straight out of college, because I didn't do that myself. I think I took more of the route that your dad did. I think I did a little research. Maybe he was early 30s when he kind of went for it.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I would say about that. It was about which kind of sucked for him, because owning a business at his age. I mean, our family had a family business in the RV industry, and I'm probably the third or fourth generation going into the RV industry for my family. So we've been kind of like feet on the ground doing that for a long time. And of course, in 2008 and 2009, the recession hit,
right?
And that was pretty much in his time he was doing it. So he had to kind of make a decision whether he was going to keep pursuing it or come back and try to run the company in the recession. And plus, it was, honestly, I think it was really tough for my dad being away from home. He's got 3 kids, me and my 2 sisters, and it's a lot on someone to be away for so long. I mean, there's been countless events that I have missed this year, friends' weddings, families' weddings, and it's definitely a lot of sacrifice goes into it trying to make it, and it takes a lot, that's for sure. I mean, especially having a long-time girlfriend and stuff. I mean, I've been with Emily for about 9 years now, and everyone asks the question, why aren't you guys married?
Too busy
yet?
fishing.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it comes with a lot of sacrifice and a lot of time, and obviously there's money goes into it. I mean, if I didn't have the sponsors I did and the support system around me, I don't think it would even be near fathomable possible to be able to do it. So
right,
I definitely got to thank all those guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, that's the biggest thing. But
So are you 24 or 25 right
25.
now? 25.
Mm-hmm.
How old was JVD when he made it? I'm not even sure.
Man, I mean, I want to say he made it in his second or third year. I think
Second or third year.
20, 21, 20,
Wow.
20 years old. So he was just a young buck when he made it, but he definitely took off. I mean, in his first few years, I mean, winning that big event out on Green Bay, that was something I remember being when I was young, just because it was such a big deal. Because, I mean, at the time and even now, I mean, we were so involved with like Van Dam Nation and stuff. Obviously,
Right, yeah.
It was really cool to get to see that happen, and he's been helping me along the way ever since I was in college. Kind of like, hey, I've never been on the TVA before. What's it set up like? What am I going to do? And so he's been kind of like almost mentoring me pretty much my whole career. Him, Mark, and Neil Vandebeesen.
Yeah,
all those guys.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, just to get a feel for like how do you think this might set up, and at least gives you an idea if you've never been down there before.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I mean, that's what it was all about for me. I mean, even fishing in college. I mean, I was so young and going to some of these places trying to fish them like I'm at home, and the only lake that I really excelled and felt like I was going to do well at when I was in college was Gunnersville, because it had so much grass.
Oh, sure.
And so fishing like a swim jig and stuff like that, fishing like we do back at home. I mean, it wasn't anything like the Great Lakes or nothing like that, but like all of our small inland lakes that we got have a lot of grass, so it was very easy for me to transition into that lake. But that was really, I mean, in Florida itself, I mean, that's a whole different beast in itself. I mean, trying to figure out where you're supposed to be, where they're set up. I mean, my whole entire college career I spent flipping the bank.
Yeah,
not knowing that it's going to get one offshore every single time, and I was never out there. And so, I mean, it's just stuff like that, small stuff throughout the years that I've had to learn and stuff. So,
yeah, it's huge. So my worst professional tournament finish ever was my rookie year, Lake Okeechobee. I think I took second to last place, and then this year I took like 13th. So I can definitely feel like where you're going to learn so much in your rookie year. Mm-hmm. I mean, like for me, I would do pretty good or pretty bad. Like I didn't do a lot of in-betweens my rookie year.
No, yeah,
and I feel like that was learning, and it was also just kind of trying to get the strength behind you and not just try to go to what you read, like the top 10 patterns from the last 300 tournaments, and trying to run that game and just kind of do what you've learned throughout your career and what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like every time setting up to an event, I mean, all of us guys are trying to do as much research as we can, whether it's online or previous BFL events or something like that, where they kind of go into and tell you some of the stuff they're doing. And I mean, some of the techniques that they're doing, I mean, we've never done in our entire lives. Like, it's just something that we've never got to experience. Like, the forward facing sonar all came out,
Right.
I mean, it was
We talked about that last time.
ledge fishing and
Game changer, yeah.
It's the forward facing sonar thing for me, I mean, obviously is a big deal. I mean, it's definitely not only just helped me in a fishing aspect, but just being able to learn of what they're doing and why they're in certain situations, like especially at this last event. I mean, I completely bombed the first day. Like, I got kind of stubborn and stuck in one area, kind of where I was catching them really, really good in practice, and instead of just moving on and going and fishing new stuff, I mean, I kind of just stayed put.
Could you see them down there with the forward-facing sonar?
Yeah, so I mean, the deal I was doing at Lake of the Ozarks, I was fishing docks, and obviously on that place, I mean, there's not a creek or a pocket or a nook or cranny you can go in where there's not a dock.
Yeah, right.
So
the whole thing's covered.
I mean, it is an absolute sight to see when you go there and you're just like, well, I kind of know what I'm going to be doing, just because, I mean, you're either going to be brush pile fishing or fishing big long points or dock fishing. So that's pretty much your three options. I mean, there's definitely going to be a shad spawn type deal that goes on there certain times of the year. But when we were there, I mean, a lot of the water was dropping. And I fully didn't understand why the fish were on the bank when the water's falling. I mean, you kind of learn as a fisherman, when the water starts dropping, they pull off the bank.
Yeah.
Well, at winter pool, what I learned this year was when they start drawing the water down in winter pool, I mean, a lot of the bass go and sit up on the bank waiting for the water to fall, so the crawdads leave the rocks on the bank, and they'll come when they start pulling the water down. The crawdads and stuff will leave the bank and come down into the water, and they'll sit there and ambush them. That's why
they're just waiting for them to come down.
And most of the docks we were fishing were like that. I mean, they were up close to the bank, and so I was targeting the backsides of most of the docks and stuff. So I'd found an area where I was catching them really good. I mean, I cracked 17, 18 pounds in like a big creek arm, and I didn't even fish the whole thing. I only fished a third of it. So I was like, I'm gonna do really well. I went there first day of the tournament, and I didn't do squat. Like, it just like I was catching 14 and a half to 14 3/4 inches, and it just wasn't. I wasn't catching a keeper, and I, instead of panicking and just running around, I mean, I kind of just was like, I caught 20 or 30 bass that day.
Yeah.
So I was like, eventually I'm gonna start.
Yeah, you run
into
a
some
couple
keepers.
good ones.
Never happened. So I was like, day 2, you know what? I'm scrapping everything I found. I was like, I know the pattern that they're on, so I'm gonna run up the lake, fish new water all day, and I went and did that, and I cracked almost 17 day 2. And I had one of the biggest comebacks, and I just kind of kicked myself in the rear end for it, just because. I mean, it's an event that definitely cost me some money, and it was an event I really think I could have done well at, doing something that fishing new water. I mean, it's a lot to go fish water that you've never been. You got to have
100%
really good confidence in the pattern that you're running, especially on that place. I mean, those Ozark Lakes pattern really well. So once you figure out something, I mean, you just got to run it, and that's something that I learned. It was definitely one of the most take-back tournaments I've ever had, just because. You didn't do squat the first day. I went out the second day, caught them really well. So I know I could have ran that both days and done really well. And so it's kind of one of them events where I'm wishing that I could go back and redo it. But
yeah,
definitely a big learning curve.
How do you guys do we hear all of our lives like Lake Okeechobee is like, obviously killer lake, you catch the big girls. I mean, you're catching monsters out there, right? You go there your first year, you say you just absolutely choke.
Bombed.
Sorry. You just said like you didn't have good first day. Like, how do you bounce back? Because like the confidence that you just said, I mean, that's a huge thing. So how from one tournament to the next, how do you keep the same amount of confidence in yourself? I mean, is there any tips or like things that you guys do differently with keeping a positive attitude towards the following tournament? Or because I mean, with your guys' profession, that's how you make your money.
Right.
So like how do you guys like stay up with everything? I know it's kind of that's a on the spot
Honestly, it's
question.
not. I mean, it's a lot easier than what you think. I mean, especially when you do so bad the first time, you really don't have nothing to lose. Almost going into it, right? So like, I didn't have nothing to lose going after the first day because I had a big fat goose egg after day one, and I was like, well, hell, all I can do at worst is 0 again. And I knew what I was running was a good way to catch him because I caught him the first day of practice doing it. And I found a bunch of other areas I was doing it. I just didn't, like, the pattern to me was not clicking for me just to go run that specific deal, right? So found him in an area, and I was fishing the area instead of fishing the pattern kind of deal. So the second day I chose, I don't really give a hell what about the area. I just want to fish the pattern. So I went, flipped behind every dock in those flat, shallow pockets that were in 10 feet or less. And I just went and did that. And it's, for some reason, just went by and just went, boom. Second dock I pulled up to in day 2 of the tournament, I caught a 5-pounder. And I was like,
there you go.
I was like, oh, hell. So
just made the right decision.
Yeah, so I just ran that the whole day. I was like, I should have been doing this the whole day. And I told my co-angler that. And, I mean, I'm running down the lake 60 miles an hour on my graph, looking, I'm like, oh yeah, this pocket looks good, right?
Right.
So I'd pull up and do that pocket. It looked good. Went in there, fished it, caught 3 keepers. I'm like, oh, I'm such an idiot.
That is key though. I mean, I've talked to Pipkins and Nelson, and they're both like, you just got to fish the day.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys don't do that. Even guys that have been doing it for 10 years, they'll still kind of just get stuck in. I caught them really good in that area, like you were saying.
Yeah, fishing history.
And they're like, just keep fishing the day, right? They might have changed. If you think about when you practice for these tournaments, a lot of guys will say, oh man, I could have, I had a top 10 bag like 2 out of the 3 days that we practiced. And that's why though. Right. It's because they're not getting stuck in one little area. They'll fish it, kind of check a couple things to see if it's a pattern, and then just keep moving and doing their thing. And I think that's why that happens.
Makes sense. Do you not to like completely change topic? Do you want to, just for the people that haven't heard from or listened to your podcast, you kind of just want to break it down real quick about yourself? Like
sure.
With your college experience and where you're at, just.
Yeah, so similar to Bo, I actually was a college fisherman. I was at Central Michigan, started that team, ran that for 3 years when I was there.
Western.
And Central Western. Broncos, got a little rivalry going here, but so then I went, and I didn't go straight to the Opens or to the Toyota Series. I worked for I guess about 8-9 years, and then I did the Toyota Series and made it over to the pro circuit. So did that for a couple years, and then they rebranded it to the Invitationals this year. It's a whole nother debacle, right? Which is probably a good question to ask you. Why you chose the Opens versus the Toyotas, considering just where it gets you, because there's so much debate around that. Like 3 Toyotas, you can get into the Invitationals, 9 Opens to get to the Elites. I mean, it's challenging to make that decision, because even I still think like, hey, I could switch, Yeah.
You'd be surprised how often I actually get asked that, especially being mentored and having the group that was around me, like obviously Kevin and Johnny, both being MLF guys and stuff like that. The biggest thing for me was that, you always hear like the Bassmaster Opens, and you always hear about the Bassmaster Elites, and I mean, when I grew up fishing, that's what I watched. I wasn't in the era these newer guys are in where they're watching the MLF. Right. And they like all the amount of fish catches and stuff like that seen on TV. For me, it was more about, it's almost like to prove it to yourself, that you are good enough to make it. I'm not saying that making it through the Toyotas and stuff isn't a feat in itself, but like, man, I tell you what, those boys I fished against this year, I mean, the top 9, I think the average finish between them to be in the top 9 was like a 38th place finish.
Every event.
And that's I mean, out of 225 boats, I only finished in the top 40 twice. So it's like, I'm thinking, well, we have so many BFLs around us. I have the in to get into Toyotas and stuff. And I could definitely go and do it. But do I wanna sacrifice the opportunity of being able to fish that kind of pro style field where you're in a whole 9 tournaments sort of league?
Right.
I mean, I can see both sides. I can see the money side of the MLF. There's more opportunities to make money, right? Because you got BFLs, you got your Toyotas. You got,
absolutely.
You got like the invitationals and stuff that you can definitely make it on, and but I definitely feel like for me, I really wanted to be. I want to be on the elites. That was sort of my deal. I wanted to be on the elites. I've always wanted to be it. I mean, my first Bassmaster Classic I ever went to was 2 years ago, where Christie won it, and I was like, oh my god, being in the arena and you get to watch them all come out.
They've got the best championship by far, and that's really disappointing to guys like me that are in MLF that watched the FLW Tour and the FLW Cup forever.
Yeah.
And then MLF buys out FLW, and it's just kind of not come back to that level, which I just think's a huge miss, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I've been to Red Crest. It has all the same feel, but for some reason, dude, there's just like it's just like the Bassmaster Classic. Like
it's the classic.
It's got that feel. Like there's so many names and there's so much history on that trophy, right? So like, I mean, just to have the opportunity to get there is just something I want to do. It's just I like the Bass Patch. I like the way everything looks. I like the community around me. But it is tough. It is tough not want to do MLF, because obviously Johnny and all them guys being on it, and I've met Dakota Ebear. He's kind of walked me through about how it makes more sense to fish this rather than this, right? But it's just some guys know what they want to do, and I think that a lot of those guys that switched from Bass to MLF, I mean, it was them seizing an opportunity that they thought was right for them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you just had a lot of guys, so I can say you're fishing against probably 30 of the guys I fished against last year because they decided that they wanted to try to go over to the elites instead of over to BPT, just with when they rebranded the pro circuit and took away that championship, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I definitely look at it myself. One of the things that is challenging for me is that you guys still have the co-anglers.
Yes.
And I've had so many really, really good co-anglers, and then I've got the ones that, like, you're almost having to fish completely differently just to try to get the first cast on spots. And that's probably one of the reasons why I feel like I wouldn't go back over.
Yeah, I totally get that. That is something that you got to overcome. I mean, fishing the opens. I mean, I had a co-angler both days at the St. Lawrence when I took fourth, and first day was great. I mean, if they catch one behind you, and that fish wasn't yours anyway.
100%.
You already passed it,
right?
But I had the second day I had pulled up. I was in the same area. I had this high return on scope, and like for those of you listening that I don't understand what I mean by high return. So like when you're looking out there on like your forward facing sonar and stuff, you'll have like just a brighter return on like the bottom that isn't, the bottom will be one certain color, and that brighter return obviously is going to be a little bit more what do I want to say, what's the word I'm thinking of, like obviously the color's just a little bit brighter. So like I was like, it's a hard bottom spot.
Yeah.
Cast it over to it, hook up with one, get it to the boat, and a 5.5 pounder. Caught it.
Nice.
And I'm down of it, and so I'm not too worried about my co and stuff, so I'm just putting it in the box, and all of a sudden he goes, oh, got one. I'm like, oh, shit. I look around, I'm like, where's he at? And I'm looking, I'm like, he's not next to us, and all of a sudden I look up, he's lying straight over my head, over my trolling motor, casted on the spool.
Yeah.
But when I caught that 5, I looked back. As I'm bringing it in, I saw like 8 or 9 of them with it. So I'm like, oh, God, I'm about to crack them.
Yeah, and you don't say anything, too, because you're like, oh, well, I don't want them to get sniped.
Yeah, so then I looked up there, and he had one on. So I'm just thinking, please don't let it go. Like, please don't come off. And it jumps. It's 6-pounder. I'm like, oh, God, it's a giant. And it comes up, jumps, comes off. I'm like, oh, shit. So then I run up to my graph and stuff. I'm on scope and I'm looking, it swims down to the school. I make a cast, and before my line can even hit the bottom, they're already all dispersed, gone.
Yeah.
So I had to refine the school, and I mean, there's just that fine line. I mean, I tell a lot of my co's, I'm with, and I'm really, really, really easy person to get along with. I'm just like, as long as we keep it behind the consoles, we're cool.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a pretty it's a pretty, ghosted rule, like the co's know, but sometimes you get that guy that wants to kind of, I won't cast over your line, but do you care if I cast up that way? And I'm like, you can't tell them not to cast there because it's a rule.
So for the people that are listening and then that just do it for fun or whatever it is, what do you mean by behind the console?
So
just because like you said, some people know, some people don't. Just kind of.
So all of our bass boats, right? You have your driver's console, and you have your passenger console.
Oh, we speared some waves out of that boat, and that console's gonna do shit for us. I'll tell you that.
Well, that wasn't a dual console boat though. That was the problem.
Yeah, it was bad.
But no, I mean it's just an ungiven rule, that they're supposed to keep basically their line behind the half of the boat.
Gotcha.
So they got the back half, and obviously the pros, we got the front half pretty much because it's kind of an unfair advantage a little bit, but we're also paying more of the entry fees. We have more riding on it. But I mean, and there's obviously everyone has the opportunity to catch fish, right? Because I mean, there's some co's that are really, really good bass fishermen.
Right.
That I mean, they have all the opportunity in the world to catch fish behind us, especially on League of the Ozarks where you're fishing docks, right? So you might cast in a dock, not catch one, and your co casts back in there and catches one because the fish is on high alert. Kind of like in that movie, Wild Hogs, where they smack the bull on the ass.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second guy goes and does it, and the bull freaking rips after him. It's like the same concept, right? So, I mean, that they have all the opportunity, but in a smallmouth derb, man, it really is, you got to kind of pay attention to what you're doing. And then it goes for even some fisheries like Wheeler when we were down there. I mean, you're fishing brush piles on the Decatur Flats, and you want to make sure you're set up on the brush pile to where almost like you don't want them to cast on it because you don't know, but you also don't know also what else is around you. If I might have a brush pile that's right in front of the boat, and I might have one that's 40 yards to my right that I don't know, told him about. And then he makes a cast, catches it. So you got to kind of be strategic on where your boat's set up most of the tournament, and that's something that a lot of people don't talk about going into the tournament.
That's really tough. I mean, it really is. I've had guys before where it messes with me because they're just constantly casting up, and I can't even turn the trolling motor to the left when I want to make a turn.
It's probably me.
And you're gonna run into their line. But I mean, I think mostly my experience in the Toyota series was pretty good. I mean, those guys know what's riding on it. For you guys, you're trying to make the elites. I feel like there's a higher level of respect there than some of the lower level tournaments you get into, and it's just kind of hey, you're just out there jackpot fishing, right? It's all right, there's no points involved, it's not as big of an issue, I don't think. But
luckily for me, I wasn't really in the points race. Didn't seem like there was so much this year, but I mean, I felt like I kind of held my own, sitting in 60th or 70th or something. I was at 40th at one point, but it just, you gotta be on top of your events, to make it to that 9, because and them boys are going to catch them. I mean, every event you go to, whether you're on the MLF side or bass side, you go through the tournament and you're like, man, I really wonder if they're struggling. They're not.
No.
Guys are going to catch them every event. It don't matter where you're at. You could be on the Ohio River and you're wondering, man, I only got 3 keepers or something. No.
You guys got a whole bag.
Oh, there's a guy that's going to crack 15 pounds every time.
Yeah. They're always going to do good. So you said right now top 9 is average 33rd finish or something. You did the math on
38th.
it? 38th.
Yeah.
See, that's not that bad. So I was talking to Buck Mallory, and he was thinking somewhere in the same, because you'll get, how many guys sign up the beginning?
I think 198.
198. So there's a ton, but how many guys are going to do all 9 at the end of the year is the question.
Honestly, I think a lot of them.
Almost all of them
stayed on. I mean, I only know of a couple people that I haven't seen at the last couple events, like Garrett Paquette. I know he just got married.
Oh, okay.
So congratulations to you, Garrett. But no, I didn't see him at the last 2 events, but I think he's on his honeymoon actually. So, but I don't think he knew he wasn't in the points race anymore. So there's
sure.
a couple guys. I mean,
Yeah.
the way that our opens are set up, we have like our down payment for the year, which is I think we paid like $7,200.
Yeah.
Like for all.
So
9.
you got to put a deposit for all 9 then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we put a deposit for all 9, which was like $7,200, and then each event, like I think it's like 10 or 15 days before it comes up, we have $1,000 like for the rest of the fee. So like each event costs, I think like $1,800.
Yeah.
Event. So
yeah.
9 events, it's like 16, 17 grand total. So no, that's I think a lot of guys do the math towards the end of the year, like, oh, I'm not gonna waste $4 or $5 grand more money when I can go home and work and make 22 or whatever everyone's making at home
Sure,
for
yeah.
the month, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that definitely comes down to it. I think there was a few, like maybe 10 or 20 boats that didn't come to the rest of them, but we're still having pretty much full fields.
Yeah, that's what I thought. There's still a lot of guys in it. I mean, the math is interesting, right? Because even what I'm doing, I think it's probably around the same average, because I think we've got to be top 8 in the invitationals, and I think you probably got to be 30th or better every tournament on average. But then, Nick LeBrun, he won 2 tournaments back to back. He had like a 100th place finish, and he still made it last year. So, you can have some really big tournaments and turn it around.
Well, you guys are fishing behind guys like Ron Nelson too. He's pretty much from my area as well. He's from Berrien Springs, so he's in the community around where my house is down in Eversburg. But no, I'm really hoping he does well next year.
Yeah, so
he goes.
He's a guy that I feel like, I don't know, he's qualified for BPT at least 2 times.
Yeah.
I don't know why he didn't do it last year, really, but I'm pretty sure he's doing it this year. And so that'll be awesome to watch him on that level.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely worked very hard, and he is one of the best sight fishermen I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh, absolutely.
Like in a sight fishing tournament, I'd be like, I'm watching out for him. Like,
yeah.
I know he's gonna be in the top 10 for sure. He just knows what he's doing when it comes to that stuff, and I definitely think that he's gonna go. I definitely think he's gonna go.
I think so too.
He's I've talked to a couple buddies that are really good friends with him, and I think it's really hard for him not to. Second year
at this point,
AOI,
you gotta go. 2 years in a row, AOI, Rookie of the Year in the Pro Circuit and the Invitationals. It's time to go, see what happens. Yeah. He's undoubtedly one of the best fishermen in the world. And he's just so consistent.
Oh, yeah. And you know what's crazy about it is that, like, that's something that I think is going to go unsaid for him. He's not the best person to watch on TV, and that's obviously not a shy thing to say. He definitely knows that, but I think for him, it's not more about the TV stuff. I think for him, he's one of them older guys that are like, don't care if I beat you on ratings, I'm gonna beat you on the water kind of deal.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how he is.
That old school passion.
That is one thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit, because Ron Nelson is like, he's the guy that's gonna win all the tournaments. And on the social side, I know his wife does some of it for him, but he's not too worried about that. He's like, I'm just going to win all the tournaments, and then that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. And I really like that mindset, and that seems to be how it had to be back in the day. Like, you could just be really good at fishing. Right. And now the social side seems to be so important.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what do you think about the social side of things, and, like, what are you doing to try to differentiate?
Like, for me, just for example, not only because I just didn't want to come over and just do the podcast, right? I think social media is such a huge deal right now in fishing, just getting your name out there or talking or just the way that it opened doors, because to get an actual paying sponsor in the fishing industry is so tough. Like, it's really, really tough to try to get a paying sponsor in the fishing industry. you pretty much got. I mean, you got to think, right? Ron. I don't know what Ron's numbers are, what he gets paid, and obviously it's none of my business and stuff. But I mean, you got to think with his accolades, you would think he's like getting his jersey would be like blown up like Skeet Reese's, right? It's gonna have all these little tiny sponsors everywhere, and everyone's gonna come running. But I mean, he just isn't. It's not for him. He'll go into a tackle store near the house and be like, I don't care if you give me a discount type of deal, right?
Sure.
Not because he's loaded. It's because like he don't want to ask for no favors because he doesn't. I don't want to speak for him, but it almost seems like he doesn't want to ask for favors because that's not his deal. He would rather just do it out of the kindness of his heart than do anything else, right? So and he's with DNR, like with me and stuff. I mean, we got DNR Sports Center. We got a couple different pros, obviously Johnny, Kevin, and me and.
Yeah, Robbie LaFear. Yeah, I traveled with him this year, man.
How's he?
He's good, dude.
You like him?
He's got a lot of freaking passion. It's very similar to you.
Yeah, he's I've never actually got to meet Robbie, but I know one of the service guys out there, Dion, at DNR fishes with him all the time, and man, he says he speaks the world of him, so it sounds like a pretty good kid.
Yeah, he kind of self-taught himself, too. A lot of times I don't really know how he knows what he knows, but it's like, I don't know if you watched 1,000 YouTube videos or what. Like, I don't, like his dad, he'll travel with us, too, and his dad's like, I don't know anything about fishing, man. Like, everything Robbie knows, he figured out himself. And so that's pretty cool, actually, that he's just gotten really just technical with it. I mean, stuff that I don't know. I mean, I've fished a lot longer than he has.
Yeah.
And he's teaching me stuff, and I'm like, man, that's cool.
Did you fish the CBTs or did you fish MCBC?
MCBC didn't exist when I was there. I was just doing the MLF college fishing when it first started.
Wow.
So Troy actually started the fishing team essentially?
Yeah, I started the team, and that was also the first year that, well, I guess it was FLW back then. So FLW college fishing, that was the first year they did it.
Oh, so you were there when, because Johnny fished for Western for, I think, a year with Gibson.
Oh, yeah.
John Gibson.
Yeah.
I remember. They kind of originally were like the...
Yeah, John Gibson, he fished against me. I know John. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he was around he's around my area as well. God, I just feel like I got a lot of brains to pick around the house. I take advantage of. But no, it's just a lot of good fishermen around where I live. I mean, just that Cass County area and up obviously Kalamazoo. But no, it's crazy. That makes me feel a little young.
I know. Yeah. See, I makes me feel old.
You are old.
Right. I know. Everybody now, it seems like all the guys trying to get in, they're all like young 20s. I'm like, man. Well, that wasn't even on my radar when I was your age.
It kind of goes back to the social media, though, because that social media is such a strong platform nowadays where, like, like what you said on coming to the podcast tonight, which obviously we greatly appreciate, but, with Zach being here and us having the booth at the festival 2 weekends ago now, we wouldn't have met half of the people if we weren't doing stuff like this out there.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean? It's just there's so many doors yet to be open for everybody out there. Yeah, and it's just that social media is just it's crazy.
It's huge. So I gotta ask you a scenario question. Because I want to know from a young person what they think. So from your sponsor base and just your career. Mm-hmm. Thinking about your professional fishing career, would you rather top 10, just get a top 10 in an open and like no YouTube video about it or anything, or top 50 but have a bunch of media out there, YouTube video, recap, all that stuff? Like, do you think your sponsor would prefer you? Which one do you think they would like more? Like, which one would be more useful from a resume and like a building your career standpoint?
In my opinion, not trying to cut you off.
No, you're good.
It kind of goes back to the guys that you were talking about walking into the bait stores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Depends, so for the Great Lakes side of everything, we go off of just the people, like supporting the good people, and we're not chasing sponsorships, but we're also representing the people that we stand behind, and we're not looking for those discounts, or we're not looking for this or that or the other.
Right.
Social media shouldn't matter a thing. It depends on the person, and obviously you can go both ways with it all, but like we don't care about reaching out to
you're
the big
concerned
names
about the
and,
people, right?
Yeah, I would rather stand behind.
Which I think that's how it should be.
Right, but
Right.
like I said, not to cut you off on that.
No, for me, I personally think that you will get noticed more, and this is just from what I've seen from personal experience. You wouldn't believe the amount of outreach I got after I took a top 5 at St. Lawrence. And I am so bad with doing social media stuff.
Yeah.
That I had to hire a social media person to do my posts.
Really?
Oh,
Nice.
and she's up my ass all the time. Like,
Is that your girlfriend?
no.
Oh.
No. we don't mix work with pleasure. But
Yeah, I tried that. Don't do it.
No, I mean, she would probably love doing it, but it would cause too much stress in the house. But no, it's just, when I get done with the tournament, I'm just trying to detox and just get done. And my phone's like, Taylor will be blowing me up going, hey, I need some like, content. Yeah, she'll be like, I need content.
Troy.
What do I need? I need
I got hours. It's the editing that's hard. You know that. You've
Yeah.
got hours of content.
It's like, I have tons of pictures of me holding up bass, but I don't have and I haven't even branched out into doing the GoPro thing, which I need to do because
Man, you got to do that.
I know I need to do set up the dang YOLO tech stick or something and set it up in the back and just have it going the whole day.
The social media stuff Trav used to do all of ours. The guy that lives out by you now. Until I started actually, enjoying it. But it is literally a second job. Making reels with the audio and editing and doing all this stuff, and I'm the same way, I'm sure, as you guys, in the field compared to on the boat. I don't have time to be doing a bunch of small little clips or taking all these videos and stuff like that. I gotta focus on how I'm setting decoy spreads or how I'm doing this, how I'm doing that,
Right.
compared to taking a dang video.
Yeah.
Which I'm getting better with it better at it, but I mean kudos to you for getting a person to take over that stuff, because like I said, it's a second job for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's especially when you're trying to worry about winning $50,000. I mean, I'm trying to put as much time into practice as I can, and then but the little things do matter. I mean, that social media stuff does matter. You gotta have that stuff, because what are you gonna have ammunition wise if going to a sponsor and they're like, oh, you only got 600 followers and you're following 600 people, right? So
right.
What are you gonna do for us? Right?
I got a little bit more now.
Oh, okay.
But that's what kind of we talked about, and I was like, you're probably right. And so I just went on and we hired her on, and my social media it's been pretty good. I mean, if anything lacks my social media, it's because of me, not because of her.
Right.
Because it's me not getting her the information that she needs. But then again, I mean, there was one time, she posted something and it didn't sound nothing like me, and I had to kind of sit around and be like, listen, this is, I do not talk it sounds very scripted.
For me, it'd be
that was my concern.
You got to dumb that way down. If it was me, or if I heard somebody, misspell some words here and there, figure it out, But you guys are worried about $50,000 wins in bass tournaments. I'm wondering about if I'm going to win $1 on pull tabs after a bar, after a hunt or something. You know what I mean? It's a whole different ballgame there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's definitely important. I mean, it's as far as the similars of guiding, right? I mean, you don't want to be a guide for
don't even get me started
for any of this stuff, and you post a bunch of pictures saying you killed a bunch of geese, and then it's from 10 years ago, and then you bring some clients out and you only shoot 8 or 9, and they're just sitting there going, what the hell?
Right.
This ain't what I signed up for. I thought we were going to slaughter them. And you can't predict what the geese are going to do. You don't know. They might have cut a field of deer. They might have cut a field the next day, and they're in a different field.
It's killing. It's not killing and catching. It's hunting and fishing. You know what I mean? But the only reason why I say don't even get me started with it, kind of small recap from where I hunt at, there has been multiple groups that they're like, you're running around with that guide service, you're running around with this guide, like that. Those guys are guiding out in the properties. They're not telling you. We don't guide. We don't do none of that stuff. I'm not with any of that stuff. It's a whole thing. Like with people, and I'm sure
it's
you
just
guys,
because you're hunting with friends. Like,
so I think
is that
most
where it's coming from?
I think most, and this is way off topic from the fishing, but me and Zach are sitting here like we're listening to the bilingual.
Yeah, we were talking Chinese for about 30 minutes there. Sorry about that.
I turned my mic off, dude. I was like, I don't even know what to say right now. But I think it's because like we hunt 10, 12, 8 to 12 guys will say every hunt we'll hunt that. But it's all friends, family. We took 4 or 5 kids out Saturday. Property owners, friends, or whatever it is, and you know, just because we're on them, whether it be jealousy or whatever, which you guys probably get a lot of talk on your guys' end as well with, you know, the jealousy aspect of what you guys do for a profession. And it's just one of those things where it's like you can't be talking about people and putting a rep on their name when you don't even know what's going on with it all. You know, and that is a downside of a social media, which I don't know if you guys realize. I haven't posted one file picture all year. Any geese, I think maybe once I posted one picture, but I haven't posted any of that stuff yet, just because it's those people out there, and those are the people that ruin it for the little guys out there. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I get that.
It's you know, even the fishing aspect of it. You know, you start getting big. That's a bad cramp right there. I'll tell you that. You start getting a name in yourself or whatever, and you start, you know, coming onto the podcast or showing yourself, or you know, we started getting a lot of hate when we started the Great Lakes Outdoors. You know, and it's people start saying just random stuff about you that it just doesn't even want to make you do it anymore. You know, and it's just
people are quick to make a judgment. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just a shitty thing, you know, and it's terrible. Which we'll get into it a little bit with the waterfowl industry and even deer hunting, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
They're so cutthroat with some of the stuff that's being said, or like I said, like with your name being out there or whatever. Like they're trying to chop you down at the knees any chance they get. And if you're down at the knees, they're coming for your hips next, because like that, there is no stopping with any of them.
Man,
it's bad, man. It is bad.
No, I definitely feel that. That's kind of is how it's at home. I mean, you got, especially if you're hunting like public stuff, like
public's terrible.
Hunting public for like waterfowl or something. I mean, you just go into an area and then you shoot the hell out of them or something, and then all of a sudden there's 3 boats there the next time, right? So you kind of got to pick and choose what you're posting and what you're doing, right? So like that's a big deal in the fishing industry right now, is how much are you trying to give away, right? So like Milliken, he's a really big YouTuber, and that was a big deal at Toledo Bend when we went there, and he won that tournament, because you obviously know he's gonna post what he's doing. So like, and it's not more or less gonna be it's not more or less what it's gonna be for us fishing guys. It's gonna be for the locals in the area, right? There's a lot of places that Milliken goes and films that they know who he is, and he's at the point now where he can't even. They ask him not to post a video of the ramp that he's going on of, because no one wants to know the lake that he's on, because it might be something like some deals up north where we got like everyone's got their little sneak holes up north, and you don't post pictures obviously of where you're at, or no one like lists locations, right? Because I mean, your
mama's house is like half of the
that the whole like OH Ivy thing, which it's not even bad to say it because everybody knows about it, but that lake they were catching all the double digits out of. I've heard that place is just run over with everyone now.
Red flag.
Oh yeah. Kyle Hall's still catching the hell.
He's still catching them, yeah, but I think it used to be just like easy, you know.
Oh, it was definitely like, so I got a couple buddies from down there that told me it was absolutely crazy to go out there. They say you can still go out there and catch a pile of 5 and 6 pounders, but catching double digits.
Yeah.
It's like us trying to roam around to catch like a 5 or 6 pound smallmouth up here, right? I mean,
Sure.
it's not very
I'll tell
easy,
you
but
what, me and Troy got some spots. That.
That's right.
We ain't saying no. Maybe after. No, I can't do that either.
He's fishing Bassmaster, so we could probably help each other out, actually.
oh,
I actually got a story recently on the same topic. One of the property owner's kids was out scouting. He was a farmhand at the farm all year and milking cows and doing a bunch of stuff for his farm. And these guys came in 15, and I think he's 15 or 16 years old or something like that. He goes out to the farm, scouts it. Some guys are out there hunting. Not a big deal. I ain't sweating about it. Whatever. If you guys want to go out there, you guys got permission. You guys are good to go. Like, whatever. You know, you beat us out there. You can hunt that day, and we can't. It just is what it is. Them guys were out there cussing that 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid out for just driving up to the farm and checking that field for geese. So it's like you got a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid that's getting into the sport,
right.
and you're out there cussing him out. Why does he still want to do it anymore? Isn't that the whole goal with, you know, whether it be fishing or hunting or whatever it is, getting the youth out there for us to keep doing what we're doing and enjoying it? I mean, because if not, then it's all gone. You know, then those guys won. Like it's a crazy thing, you know. It's crazy how people think and the mindset toward some things, you know.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any tips or, you know, any I don't even know the word I'm looking for like youth wise, like, or what like you guys do or anything for kids coming into the sport, or any advice, I guess is the word I was looking for up and comers or people that are wanting to get into it?
I mean, a really good way to getting into the sport, obviously. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in the state of Michigan to get into fishing and hunting. I mean, fishing especially. I mean, I know that Adrian College in Western Michigan actually now is doing youth camps. So we
where you at, Troy? Where's CMU, bud?
I'll have to call him.
Yeah.
No, but we're actually hosting. We did it my senior year, and we host youth camps, and we take kids out, we do a day of practice, and then you have 2 days of a tournament. So like they kind of get the feel of like a tournament situation, kind of with the boater. I mean, everyone goes out with a boater, and we'll take like 2 or 3 kids out, and
That's awesome,
and I actually through my high school, I do a giveaway trip every year. For like the project graduation or something that they always do at like high schools and stuff. I give away a free trip to donate back to the school and my community. So I'll take 2 kids out every year, and whether they're from across the state or whether they're from wherever, and I'll take them out and take them fishing and kind of teach them some stuff, like teaching how to tie knots and kind of let them get to experience being in a wrap boat. And because when I was a kid, getting to see a wrap boat was like the coolest thing, right?
Bread
like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And it don't matter. I mean, whose boat it is, right? I mean, it could be some Joe Schmo that's got a couple stickers, right? Just for them to be like, I'm in some dude who's taking it very serious, right? And so like it's really cool for them to get to do that. So I mean, there's definitely opportunities in that aspect. I mean, do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, just get out fishing, really, because I grew up, I had the oldest, junkiest boat that you could probably buy.
Didn't you start off with bamboo poles?
Just about. I mean, but no, my dad fished quite a bit, but we didn't run the best equipment by any means, and it doesn't matter, man. Like, you can get out there and fish, even if you can't afford today's technology, you can still go out there and catch them.
Right.
I mean, as long as you've got a rod and reel and some decent line, and you just get out there and try to start learning it. You don't need the electronics. I mean, not just to get started.
Well, because I feel like a lot of these kids see these guys on TV and they're like, man, I wish I could be that one day or do this that one day. Like, whatever. And it's like you can.
Yeah.
They don't know where to start or where the next step is with, Another thing with social media, you got your YouTube guys that are just absolutely, blew up over the years and stuff and getting big. So now everybody thinks you got to be a YouTube star, and it's not the case. It's
No, but be prepared to put a lot of time and effort in, because if you want to get to the pro level, it does not come easy. Like you said, you've missed 100 events. Half my friends, they're like, he's still alive? I mean, so the thing is you've got to put the time in. Like,
I don't think I've seen you for like 3 years.
Seriously, I know.
Yeah, right.
Fishing is definitely the sport where you can just kind of get out there and just put in the hours and the time, and you really earn it, because you'll have a bad tournament and you'll earn more than you could have because of just all the people you're around, and you were just, maybe you executed wrong, whatever it was, but 3 years later when they go back there, you bet you're not going to do that same thing, and you're going to learn, and you're going to be like, I paid my dues, but there's some new guy that's going to be just where you were 3 years ago, Right. So it's definitely.
And I think that's like a big part on why we do this podcast and stuff like that. With like, we were all there at one point. You know what I mean? Like, we were all there starting off. We were all there starting off hunting, fishing, trying to find fields or trying to find how to fish in these certain situations. Why not be the guy to help a guy out or a girl out or whatever, and not be an absolute douchebag to the person that's, it's. Well, like, you can at least owe that to the person. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many out there nowadays.
Yeah.
We're almost at an hour now, and we got so much more to talk about. I'm gonna drop fall fishing, since we're in the fall right now, and I feel like you guys are gonna talk for another hour here on this fall fishing stuff. But tips and tricks to bass fishing in the fall, because I want to talk about hunting and stuff, because the stories that you were telling me about earlier, we might even have to do a second podcast, but tips and tricks for fall fishing. So whoever wants to start off, I'm going to turn my mic off probably, because I'm not going to understand half the stuff you guys are saying, but what's some tips for it?
Well, I mean, I'll let Bo go, because he just fished that payback, and sounds like you did pretty good.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of a tough topic to kind of talk about, right? Because you don't know. I mean, are we talking smallmouth? Are we talking largemouth? Are we talking Great Lakes stuff? Obviously, we're on the Great Lakes podcast. I mean, I could talk about smallmouth all day if we really want to.
That's a good question. I didn't think that far through the question. Let's talk about largemouth, because there might be some people, quite a few people on here that are just, even bank fishing or whatever it may be, and not really getting out in them deep waters and whatever. So let's keep it to largemouth for now.
Okay. So fall fishing for me, going for largemouth and stuff, obviously you kind of want to bring your roots back to a little bit towards spring fishing, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, it all kind of comes full circle. Like, those fish are going to go, they're moving back to the same places they're going to go to in the spring. And at least for me, I'll kind of find them in the fall doing their thing where, I mean, they're off that summer pattern. They're not out deep off points and stuff. I mean, they're kind of moving shallower, going back. So, I mean, you kind of want to go towards more bait-oriented stuff. Depending on the fishery you're in, if you're in a clear water place, you kind of want to move into where they're going to be feeding more, getting ready for winter. So moving into those like moving baits. So like typically when fall comes around, picking up like a bladed jig or a rattle trap or even a spinnerbait or something, and just going down the bank hucking it. I mean, you're going to end up running into a good population of fish just doing that. I mean, is there anything else?
That's pretty accurate. I mean, just follow the bait fish is really the key, because they're trying to get fat for the winter.
So
they're aggressive.
Well, that was my next question, was why are the bait fish in there when the water's warmer out, if that makes sense? Well, I guess it'd be warmer in.
Well, a lot of times they're going, they're kind of going to wherever they can feed up as well. So, like, if you think about the Great Lakes, the Erie Basin, right where we're at, they all pull up into the mouth of the Detroit River area. A lot of fish do, including the largemouth. Like, guys that fish around here a lot, and I just fished that TBF semifinal. they were already pulled up. The largemouth were in here pretty good.
Really?
And the smallmouth weren't yet. And so the weights were really tight because it was Michigan versus Ohio. And the Ohio guys, man, they're just like flipping and they're throwing chatterbaits out there, like you're saying, catching them on those reaction baits. And the smallmouth weren't in yet. So
Did you go to any of those spots?
Yeah.
Yeah. No good?
Yeah, they just weren't in that good yet. I mean, I did pretty good, but I needed a largemouth bite, put it that way, and I didn't have it because the water dropped like 2.5 feet out here. It screwed up some of those areas. It really kind of messed up my largemouth spots, including where we have fished previously, and so I just went smallmouth. But I mean, yeah, but like fall fishing, that's what they're doing. They're trying to feed up. They want to get fat, so.
Because usually fall time, obviously hunting deer and waterfowl and stuff like that. I don't think I've ever really targeted bass in general in the fall time. I mean,
some of the best fishing.
Yeah.
Well, and even for
all the deer hunters are out there. Yeah. All the duck hunters are out there too.
Well, even for the walleye, I mean, obviously the Detroit River right behind us right here. We're right on it.
Yeah.
I've heard so many good things about fall walleye fishing, and I've never done it.
The winter, like the spring walleye run out here, I heard is really big. I got a couple
buddies. Have you ever done
it? No.
Oh, dude.
I heard it's pretty awesome.
It's unreal, yeah.
That's how me and Troy met.
Really?
Yeah, so we'd see each other out there all the time, and then we pulled up to one of our local beaches, and we were like, I feel like I know you, and it was really just from seeing the boat constantly out there. And
like you're the guy in the camo boat that's out there walleye fishing every day.
Yeah. And now we got a little bit better of a boat now, but yeah, it was one of those things, and we started talking and hanging out, and I don't think you knew too many guys that were local at the time. And
no, I had just moved into the area, so it was a really cool way to kind of get into this whole area and the fishing and hunting team,
And the only thing, my biggest thing is, and I'm sure Troy can say the same thing, you don't have to be in the group of boats because there's so many walleye that move through the Great Lakes right here. You can go wherever you want. You find a drop point or a weed line or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Don't look for the boats. Just find those certain spots. Like I hate crowd fishing. Hate it. There's one of our spots that is, I'd say mid-river. Maybe I'll see one or two boats there, and that's like very, very slim to none seeing them out there, and we'll be done in 20 minutes with like a 4-man limit. It's just dumb.
I wanted to do the ice fishing out here. I heard that's pretty
I do not want to do that.
I don't either.
I don't either. I see the Coast Guard out there every year getting them off the ice drift. I'm like, I'm good. I'll catch them in the spring.
One of our buddies, or my dad's buddy Jimmy, he's in our hunting group and stuff. He went out to Breast Bay one year, which is south of here, I don't know, 15, 20 miles maybe?
Yeah.
Right around there? Not even. He went out there, and I think we had a big power outage or something like that, and all of a sudden, like, he's jigging the bottom, and he can't feel bottom. And he lets a little bit of line out, feeling the bottom. Next thing you know, he can't feel bottom again. He's like, what the heck's going on? It's not like it's moving. He gets out, all the lights on shore are out. It must have been like an ice storm or something, and all the power's out. So he follows his tracks back, hits water. Goes the other way, hits water. Goes the other way, hits water. Next thing you know, they're out like towards the lighthouse in the middle of the lake.
Oh God.
Well, no, I'm sorry. They're south of the lighthouse. Even
yeah.
So they're almost in Ohio water.
Yeah.
And the Coast Guard passes them, and they're freaking out. And they're like, yeah, we're already getting somebody else. We see you guys. Don't worry about it. Just sit tight. This, that, and the other. They're out in 20, 30 foot of water.
Yeah.
Sit tight.
Drifting.
Yeah. So the Coast
Getting
Guard,
a good walleye jig, though.
Start drinking.
Yeah, exactly. So the Coast Guard
Something.
drops the other guys off, comes back, picks those guys up. Everybody's like packing up their shanties and stuff like that. And they're like, what are you doing? Like, we're grabbing all of our stuff. They're like, no, you're not. You're literally just bringing you. If you want to stuff some stuff in your jacket and whatnot, that's cool. But your shanties, like 4-wheelers, if you guys have them, anything else, they're staying. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As soon as that helicopter picked off the ice, the entire like ice shelf that broke off shattered. right underneath them.
They lost all their stuff.
Lost most of their stuff besides the stuff that they couldn't put on them. But like
sketchy.
there's
Like
so
the waypoint for that for you.
I mean that's so much stuff though with like the river and you know. You could even almost say stuff about the lake too out here. That there's so much fast-moving water, whether you think it is or not. I mean, 2 years ago, Edison kicked on for half a day, and we lost like 4 to 5 inches of ice, and it's crazy around here.
I totally believe it. There was 2 years ago, I came out here practicing for a tournament, and I would say I was out towards. Won't give specific spots away, but I was out towards Colchester. And I actually found an ice shanty in like 18 feet of water on live scope, and I could see the windows and the doors.
Way.
Oh yeah, I should have took I think I got a video of it on my phone, but I literally had an ice shanty that was just out off in like 18 feet of water by itself. I could see the whole square. I could see the windows and the doors. I mean, I should have probably posted it for Garmin. And
It's
did
like
a
that
little.
Oh, yeah.
I was saying a commercial
Yeah.
with a guy like doing jumping jacks into the
But I
water.
was-
You could watch it all.
But I was just like, I couldn't believe it. And I heard Saginaw Bay's pretty bad about that stuff too, about like ice drifts and stuff.
Yeah, Saginaw Bay, and then even the river. Half of the family is up from that area, like lives out that way, and hearing some of them stories. I mean, I hate to say it, but you know, every year, I'll say there's, 2 to 5 people out on this river or lake that, unfortunately, pass away or whatever the circumstances are. But Saginaw River and Bay is just as bad. I mean, Lake Erie is one of those lakes that you just do not want to deal with how shallow it is. I mean, Dylan's podcast will be coming out next week, or I don't know when this is going to drop, but probably will be out already by the time you guys listen to this. I seen his Snapchat the other day. He was in 12 footers in Erie out there. And it's just like, it's insane.
Sandusky Bay.
Well, like
Out
even
there.
the day we went out there, we speared like 10
Gosh.
waves coming through. And it's so, it could happen so quick. You go out there when it's just flat, 10 minutes, wind picks up a little bit. Next thing you know, you look around and it's 4 or 5 footers out there.
Yeah,
It's insane.
I got like 3 or 4 different cities I have on my phone that I check. Like, so I'll check over here, and I got Kingstown. I'll check that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll check Colchester.
Yeah.
And I'll have 3 or 4 different places, and I actually have 3 or 4 different apps. I have checking, like I got Windy. Obviously, you have.
It's the one I use.
You have
the Windy
that one?
app.
Yeah, that's what I had. The red symbol.
It's just called Windy. I don't know what the symbol is.
I actually use the app too called Hunt Stand. Have you guys ever heard of that?
I've heard of that.
Hunt Stand-
Wind Finder. I'm sorry.
Hunt Stand is actually pretty cool. It's actually cool for like goose hunting and stuff too, because it actually shows you the direction of wind, and you can timeline it with the time, and then it shows you which way the geese should be coming in to the thing. I mean, you can all base it based off of like in general knowledge. If the wind's coming this way, the geese are going to fly this way.
Right.
But it kind of sets you up when you're in the middle of a field at 2 to 3 a.m. setting
Right.
up decoys. You're like, well, which way do I want to set up the W or
That's a
the U
big
or whatever situation you want to be in.
That's what I find with Wind Finder. Which let's take a break here, and we'll get into hunting right after a short break.
All right. Sounds
All right.
good.
We'll talk more about hunting instead of this stupid fishing.
Just
that you guys
fishing?
keep
I
on.
don't know what the hell you guys are talking
So
about.
yeah. All right, we're back. So we're talking about winds and apps that we're using. I was using the Wind Finder app, and same thing that I think you were talking about, Bo, with looking in the future wise with you can see where the birds are dumping in at and this, that, and the other. I mean, what app were you using just now?
Mine's called Windy.app, but I have an Android, so that's probably why mine's different. But primarily, I like the map.
Just stop, dude. We're gonna stop the podcast right now. No, we talked about fishing and stuff like that, and to hit the wind or whatever. We talked about it a little bit, but hunting, Bo, I didn't even realize you were that big into the hunting scenario.
Oh yeah.
Didn't know you grew up around the Van Dams. Didn't know any of that stuff, and knowing that the deer that they shoot and
Oh yeah.
the area. To be honest with you, I didn't even know really where you were even from.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm about like an hour south of Kalamazoo. So, I mean, I didn't. The only really reason I grew up around the Van Dams would have to be because my dad. I mean, just with him with the whole Johnny thing, growing up, and that's kind of how we got into it. But now, I mean, you could ask like the owner, Randy Van Dam. You could ask him, and he always says, "Oh, do you just come in and get what you want? I mean, you're like second son and all this stuff." So I mean, they've really taken me under their wing and stuff. But as far as like the hunting goes, I mean, we've had a piece of property that's called Lost Road for a long time. I mean, ever since I had to have been 3 or 4 years old as long as we've had it. And it's just, there's about 40 to 60 acres. And, back in the day, I mean, sure, property wasn't as expensive as it is now. But it's definitely been somewhere where now that I'm to the age where, kind of making some money here and there, I can put more time into it. Especially since I have some off time between tournaments. So this year I kind of went in. Me and my dad are kind of starting to put our money together. We put a big food plot in this year. I went out and got it tilled and did all the work that we had to do. And, I mean, we're seeing the results. I mean, we have a lot of deer coming on camera. I mean, especially in Michigan now that we don't have, like, that no baiting law and stuff. So
That's tough.
it is tough. I mean, you definitely got to put some money into it.
Right there.
No, yeah. I mean,
Time and money. I mean, more time than anything.
Oh yeah, I mean the money gets spent pretty easily. It seems like in hunting or fishing. I mean you see what you want and you go and buy it, whether or not you think it's logical, and you don't ever look at your bank before you buy something like that. It seems like.
Oh, I've got caught up a couple times doing that. So let me backtrack here. You guys talked for the first hour about some Chinese stuff that nobody in the room knew about or what's going on. Now, Troy, you're on the other side.
Well, I've actually done a decent amount of hunting, but not waterfowl. I've killed probably 15 or so deer.
You're more than me then. Okay,
but,
never mind.
I'm not like a high-tech hunter. I got an old bow that my old boss gave me for free, a PSE with 65% let off, and I've been using that for like 10 years now.
Okay.
And then, I just shoot 20 gauge shotgun. Nothing special.
So speaking of 20 gauge, how do you feel about 20 gauge for waterfowl hunting?
I think I'd rather shoot a 12 gauge, but I think a 20 gauge goes a long way when you're shooting more shots.
I'll be honest with you, man. I want a 20 gauge so bad. M3.
Like an M3?
Or no, M2. I'm sorry.
M2.
Yeah, M2. So badly just because of the fact that like when you're shooting ducks and when you're getting birds nice and close, unlike some people we just talked about shooting them at 50, 60 yards, whatever. You're shooting ducks at 10, 15 yards. Why do you need to shoot a 12 or a 10 gauge even? You know what I mean? If you're shooting them in close,
yeah, shooting 10 gauges for ducks.
This ain't Sand Hill.
Oh,
I know some people.
I don't. The only time I'm bringing out the Ithaca long barrels when I'm shooting geese in the field. But no, I honestly would rather not shoot that gun very often because after about 15 shots, you feel it in the morning shooting a 10 gauge. That's for sure.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And I feel bad for the guy next to me because he can't hear the next morning either.
Right.
I don't think I've ever shot a 10 gauge.
Really?
Honestly, I don't think so.
I'll bring it over.
I'll bring you one.
So what's the best?
I don't know if I want to though. That's the thing. Like it's like I feel like if you got to shoot a 10 gauge, well, I'm not scared. Like I'm not scared about the kick or anything. I'm just like, if you can't shoot them in close, why are you even pulling the trigger? That's my biggest thing with it all. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Some people do a late season goose around here. Obviously like the northern states get those like big, thick, birds that have a lot of fat on them and stuff like that. And I understand it, but with the shells and the choke tubes nowadays, there's no reason to shoot a 10 and like the 12s. I feel like in a sense can do the same amount as a 10 can do.
Oh yeah, I agree, but I definitely think like those
There's a time and place.
When you
I'll
have
say
those
that.
single birds that are coming back after you shoot a group, and you have those one or two that do circle back but don't really fully commit, and they got that, like, when we went up north and did that hunt, we had a bird that circled back, and it was probably, I don't know, 60 feet or yards up in the air. And I full on pulled up the 10 gauge and dropped it right next to the blind, about killed me. But
You must
it
not
was-
be shooting Migra then if you can't shoot them at 70 yards with the old 12 gauge. I'll tell you that right now, because I'll give them the old dirt nap at 80. I don't care.
No, but that's the only time. I mean, really, the only reason that we have the gun is because my grandpa used to go sandhill crane hunting a lot.
I've always wanted to try that. I mean,
Ribeye of the sky, buddy.
that's I tell you what, they you can shoot them here, but obviously you got to let them lay as the farmer's permit and stuff like that. And I
Yep.
want to say I just heard they opened up in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
It's open in Michigan?
No, I wish.
Oh, okay.
You gotta have a
Ohio
farmer's
just
permit.
opened up.
Oh.
I think you're allowed 2. I'd have to go back and look, but Ohio just opened it up this year.
Yeah, the doves in the sandhills. I know that they've been on the board for a little while now, but I would love to have them open
Dude,
it up.
I'm waiting for the cormorants to get open because
Oh,
Ontario's got it open, man, and they
Me too.
freaking blast
I'm
them,
ready.
dude.
I'm ready for that one.
I'm all on board with waterfowl hunting. Let's get the cormorants going.
Yeah, well, 'cause that's the problem though. Do you know anything about this? The cormorants and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean they're everywhere. It
Dude,
seems like every lake
it's
you go
crazy.
to.
Well,
But they're nice for fishing though, because
You-
it tells you where all the bait's
Yeah,
at.
I tell you, I see the same thing when I see them. But do you know about like Ontario, like killing them and stuff?
Mm-mm.
I think it's a 15 bird limit per person, and the problem is everybody on that side of the river, they're shooting them up and they're pushing them all on this side. So every tree that you see around here that's dead,
It's from
it's
them.
straight from the cormorants.
Yeah.
The,
Oh, yeah.
the worst part is you can't like carp hunting and like for the bow hunt fishing and all that stuff. You like usually the fish goes out for the farmers and all that stuff for fertilizer. You can't even do anything with them. Everything in the fish is toxic.
Yeah, it's
100%.
bad.
Wow.
Bad
It's
stuff.
It's like it's
I didn't know
terrible. You
that.
can't do
They
anything
smell
with them.
horrible, I can tell you that much.
But like it's crazy because like overseas, where they came from, don't quote me on that. I just believe that's what has happened with them. The Asians and whatnot, they tie strings around them and throw them over the side of the boat, and
Huh.
they go down and catch the fish, bring them up, and they spit them out.
I
the
have
boat.
seen a video of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nuts.
Trained cormorants.
Yeah, they just tie ropes around.
Wait
them.
for someone to do that in the Elite Series.
Oh,
You're going down there catching 5-pound smallmouth for
Hey,
you.
don't be giving up your tips and tricks now, all right? You told me that a long time ago about them cormorants, how you do it, and you swore.
They know where they go find the big ones.
When did you start hunting? I mean, like same kind of story with the fishing aspect of it all.
yeah. Just started young. I mean, I think I shot my first duck when I was like 7 years old with 20 gauge, like a Remington or something like that. I mean,
gotcha.
Oh, actually, you know what? I think it was a Winchester.
Really?
Yeah, I think I had a Winchester. I think I still got the gun, actually. Just my grandpa took me out behind the house, and we live on like a little creek area, and we just went out there. I shot my first duck, kind of fell in love with it. And then deer hunting's the same way. I mean,
Right.
although, I mean, my dad I feel like all dads pull the trick on you when you're young, give you the gun and say, all right, shoot it. And then you shoot it and you fall right on your ass. And you're just like, I don't know how I feel about this. So,
Right,
I mean,
right.
but it kind of does make you think, though, when you're hunting. I mean, it's just that feeling when you're deer hunting that you don't get a lot. I mean, ducks, it's more of like in the action kind of deal.
Right.
But like when you shoot a deer and you put one down, or you have one coming in that you want to shoot, I mean, the adrenaline is just, you're left in the stand shaking. And you just, I don't get that feeling with duck hunting, but I do get the feeling of being able to let off the steam
Right.
that you can't with deer hunting per se, right? Because you can shoot, if you're lucky. I mean, if you have a good hunt, I mean, you can shoot 15 or 20 times.
So what's your opinion on the baiting and like from where you guys are at? What about your deer management? So like I said, the baiting standpoint. We'll start with that one. How do you feel about that since they changed it?
I think it's a tough topic, honestly, because I mean, I honestly think the baiting deal is not that big a deal. I mean, the people down south, I mean, like states like Kentucky, I mean, they're baiting and they're shooting 150 to 160 inch class deer
They're
all the
baiting
time.
right across the border from us in
I
Ohio.
know it's not like it's gonna make a huge difference. I think that when that
Was it
disease,
EHD?
yeah, when EHD
Right.
came around, they kind of like shifted the blame rather than actually talk about what it actually is. I don't think that putting that it comes from the corn or some sort of deal like that. I think it's all bukkake almost, right? Like I don't think it all comes from that, but I think that baiting is. Yeah, I personally like it, right? I don't think anyone's gonna say that they don't.
Right.
But I do like the fact
More
that it's kind of pushed us to a more natural food source for deer, like having to go out and do your food plots and stuff like that, or hunting cornfields, but hunting cornfields is the same thing as baiting, right? Because I mean, you gotta think you got the natural food source still there. They're still coming to it, so people could like acreage off and burn cornfields to where it's only growing when they go out and food plot it. Obviously, when they go out and plant, that they're only planting a certain area. It's the same way as baiting is dumping a bag of corn.
I seen a cornfield today actually on the Outdoorsman's channel. It was like a cornfield, but it was like almost like a maze with like a 20-yard wide alfalfa in between the corn. It was just like a literally looked like spots on a dog almost. Like it was just like corn here and then alfalfa there, but like the alfalfa had just like a lane right to the blind. I mean, it was looked absolutely awesome.
Right.
But that's the thing. Like they say that EHD and they're eating off the same and this, that, and the other. And you think that's what's stopping the deer from eating off of each other? No. I mean,
I grew up in a cornfield. They were in there constantly.
Yep. Yes, I'm saying like they're following the same path. You're getting the same runways from the deer. I mean, it's the people that are in the offices that don't even hunt themselves that are making the decisions around here, and they don't know.
Now, like backing up a truck and dropping the whole thing down, probably I wasn't really super fan on. Like when I would do it, we would bring like a 5-gallon bucket. I think that's what the rule was back in the day. And like
I couldn't tell you because I don't want to indict myself. Where it is.
I mean, I think they used to fly around and just look for like someone that just backed up a truck full of like carrots or sugar beets or whatever it was. I mean, because then it's there for 3 months or something before they eat it down. So then you've got so many deer coming through during the rut that maybe it's a little bit worse than it could have been. I mean, that was the only thing that I could really.
There's always that appreciation though, even like from guided hunts to doing it yourself kind of hunts where you're putting that work in from food plots and spending the hours and the time and the gas money and material and this, that, and the other, and actually harvesting that deer that you're after.
Right.
I mean, it's just, that appreciation towards all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about your first duck that you shot.
Mm-hmm.
During our little break there, we talked about duck bands.
Yeah. So I guess just
that story again.
Just to roll into that. So me and one of my buddies back at home, Brody, we went out just on like a normal hunt. We have a little lake that we like to go hunt. Later when everything. No, but it usually gets good like right before everything really starts freezing, right? So like all the drains start freezing, ditches start freezing, and that's a lot of the hunts around us. And so there's this lake that it gets pretty good, and so we went out, and daylight starts to break, and we're out there sitting, and all of a sudden just a lone mallard comes in, and it just is swimming in the decoys and stuff, and we see it's a drake. And I don't know how everyone else on the table is, but we like shooting greenheads. It's pretty much like what we target.
Right.
We don't
greenheads, puddler ducks. Come on.
I shoot everything. If it's got wings, dead.
I'm just saying, man.
Ruddy duck, don't care.
No, but we've always tried to stick to just shooting greens if we can. I mean, but no, it just was in, and I looked at him. I said, "Do you want it?" He said, "No, you can have it." So we clapped it up and. I ended up shooting it on the water. I went out and got it. And it ended up being a band. I looked back at him, and he was so pissed.
You left that marsh that day. I tell you what, because you'd be sitting there in a muck face down if I seen that.
He was like, I can't believe I let you shoot that. Never again. I ain't never asking you if you want to shoot. I'm just going to shoot it. And I was just like, well, you know what? When it's your day, it's your day. And it's tough to come by mallard bands, I
tell you what, that's the thing. Yeah, like I said, we shoot, I don't know. I think last year we shot close to 1,000 birds. and probably for the last 3 or 4 years, we shot close to 1,000. And I could probably count on one hand how many times we've shot a band. And it's like, you know, who gives a shit at the end of the day? It's a band. Like, you guys seen the pictures about the kids being out there, the dog running. I'd rather see the pictures of that stuff instead of 30, 40 bands out there. You know what I mean? I don't have a lanyard full of goose legs,
Right.
you know?
We do have a good population, I feel like, of bands, so you'd have to think, right? All of them being banded in Lansing?
Yeah, no. Were you guys right? Yeah, you for sure. There was, I don't know if I have a Lansing band or not, but I've seen a handful die. Lansing is a big area for that though.
Yeah.
Was that Mallard band from Lansing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's where the one Mallard band I seen was from Lansing as well.
Mm-hmm.
The population of birds out that way is unreal. I don't know if you ever traveled up that way or not, but it is unreal. Absolutely crazy.
I thought Saginaw area was nuts.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Here's the thing: like you got those flight birds that are coming down, right? So
Right.
up there, you don't have a lot. You know, at this statement, I'm kind of just presuming, like, I'm gonna guess that they don't have a lot of local birds that nest there and stuff.
Right.
What they're focusing on is the flight birds coming down from Hudson Bay and all that kind of stuff. So they're relying on that. That's the first agricultural fields that they're hitting up there. So as soon as they hit them trees from, like, you know, from the top of the mitten down, they're hitting the first fields, and then them guys are banging them out right there. You know, they're flying how many thousands of miles down,
Right.
and they need some grub.
Right, which kind of sucks for us because we're getting kind of the leftovers being down at the bottom of the state. I mean, you guys being on the east side, being on the west side.
Right.
So it's...
And that's the thing, though, for me. Like, I try to tell everybody at the same time, like, you know, don't be the same as everybody then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, we ran 10 decoys the other day, and, you know, we shot 35 or whatever it was. And we ran 10. You know, most of the guys right now are running 5 to 10 dozen dive bombs, and they're doing that the entire way down the flyway. You gotta kind of separate yourself from them situations like that.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we learned. Just least amount of decoys we can use. We can run a whole bag of decoys out, and that's good enough for us. Plus, it's less stuff you got to pick up.
Yeah, you ain't lying there. Troy, you following us here? Are you trying?
I am. I was interested though. Like when I catch a smallmouth that's got a tag, they'll tell me like, "Hey, we tagged it in Erie, and then we caught it again in St. Clair, and then I catch it in the Detroit River." Like
Here
when
we
you
go back to fishing.
so no, when you get one of those tags or bands,
Yeah.
what information do they have on the duck?
The year that they banded it, whether it's a yearling or if it was a bird that, you know, it'll say born in this year or what do they say, banded after the
I mean, where are they catching them at? Like, how are they getting the
your
bands
local,
on?
like Point Moulet bands them, or like your
But what's the process of catching them? I guess that's what I don't understand.
So during the summertime, they go through a molt migration is what it is. So you have your local birds that nest here, and a lot of your mature birds that they lose their flight feathers, so they can't fly. So literally all they do is circle them around in a net, and they won't fly out of there. And then they'll
Interesting.
take bird by bird, and then, you know, if you got a year or 2-year-old bird, they don't know the actual age of it. They'll put, you know, born before this, but banded
Huh.
at this time.
Interesting. So you know where they got banded at, but other than that, they're never going to get caught again unless you shoot them, probably, right?
I mean, there's some photographers that are really good and have super high power like lenses and stuff like that, where you can actually like read the numbers off the bands. Where like when you type it in, you could say just spotted this bird, or like when you file it all in, you could say like harvested or roadkill or spotted. There's a whole different like description of it. So, you know, say you got a big camera, you can say I seen bird 1207 88 94, whatever it is, and then they'll tell you where it's from or how old it is, or
Interesting.
you know, stuff like that.
So do you have any that are from, like,
Yeah.
just interesting areas, or like how far away?
I shot one that was 1,800 miles away last year. That one that was all like real thin and stuff, that was 1,800 miles away last year.
Wow.
But I know guys that have shot birds this year from the same area that were banded this year. You know, they it's crazy to kind of get down into the nitty gritty with birds because they fly so far in short time spans. I mean, that wind's right. They're getting up in that
Yeah.
and they're gone.
Yeah, I'm trying to liken it to the smallmouth, right? They'll swim really far.
Yeah.
Like, I'll catch them, I mean, but for a bird, what, like a couple 100 miles?
Oh, that's
It's like a very
They-
couple
they-
thousand in a
they
week
had
or something.
They had a GPS tracker on a mallard last year. They released in Florida. Flew up here to Michigan. Flew all the way over to Russia. Flew back from Russia. Back down to Florida. Flew over the Atlantic.
Oh my gosh.
Came back this way and then was shot in North Carolina.
Yeah,
That's absurd.
And that was in 3 months. They flew all that in 3
Holy
months.
crap.
You know, a
That
lot
was
of it has
Jeez.
to do with wind direction and stuff. Like we've been shooting a lot of snows. I don't know if you guys have been seeing any snows
Yeah.
out in Kalamazoo, but like you get a strong west wind or east wind, they're pushing birds from different. What is it? 3 or 4, I think, different flyways in the United States.
Yeah.
So they'll push those birds from different flyways, like your East Coast and your
Mississippi.
Mississippi
Yeah.
flyway, Atlantic. Did I already say that?
Yeah, I think that's right. Because most of the birds that we kill, I mean, typically are flying through the Mississippi Flyway. Like we're like right on the edge of Mississippi Flyway on the west side of the state.
And even like, so for you, Troy, like Canada geese, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that there's 7 different subspecies of Canada geese?
No.
That's what's crazy about waterfowl hunting. That's why I am such like into it because
Yeah.
like those small things like a wood duck, right? I don't know if you've ever seen a wood duck or whatever.
They're
I'm sure
the
you
brown, darker, browner.
have. Yeah, beautiful ducks.
Yeah.
Beautiful. The hens are.
Yeah.
I'll show you a picture afterwards. Oh yeah, right there. We got a picture of it. Right there, the top one there.
Oh yeah.
Those are wood ducks there. The hens are the brown ones. The white rings around their eyes are actually, depending on like, the bigger the ring around their eyes, the higher up on the pecking order they are.
Yeah.
The smaller the ring, the lower on the pecking order.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's just like stuff like that is just
That's
absolutely,
super cool. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. And that's why I love like really getting into it, bird nerd or not. It's
Yeah.
just such an interesting. There's so many interesting things about it.
I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Welcome to the waterfowl world.
All right. Yeah.
Not in the talk where I don't even understand what you guys are talking about with thin hooks or whatever kind of hooks you guys are talking
Light
about.
wire or heavy wire?
Yeah. I'm like, geez, man.
Like there's some cool things about mallards too. I mean, just in mallards, like the curls by the tail.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't actually know what that tells you, but I know that doesn't it tell you like the years of the age of the bird or something like that?
That's kind of like the
Theory.
of it all. Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's more of like the pruning stages of everything. Like the birds like prune themselves or like clean themselves up, which it could be, you know, kind of with each other. It's almost like the orange feet with mallards as well. Just because they have orange feet doesn't really technically mean that they're flight birds.
Right.
You know, it could be just sitting in cold water or whatever.
Right.
You know, a lot of those curls are due to pruning, though. But the mallard numbers have been going way down. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is saying it from the farm ducks and stuff that people are letting out. Like around here in our backyard here, like they
Talking
have-
about the white ducks?
what did I say the other day? I said kill white, right?
I didn't know what you meant.
Yeah, it's literally just
Mixing
it's a
and breeding
crossbreed.
together. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
crossbreeding.
So
Yeah.
the true-blooded mallards are breeding with the farm ducks that people are just getting rid of. Them ducklings, I guess you want to say, can't fly because they got more genetics than the farm ducks, and that goes a hatch right there. But ducks are naturally used to breeding more than 1 or 2 times. They're just
Interesting. So that's why that white duck that I sent you had like 2 brownish, bluish looking ducks, because they were probably offspring.
that or just other farm ducks.
Yeah.
like all the canals in here and stuff. Like
You see the
everybody
farm
sees.
ducks.
Yeah, it's all farm
There's a
ducks.
couple white ducks. There's a couple that look
Yeah.
like Oreos.
Yeah, they're all over.
Yeah,
They're like white with black dots.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, farm
all
ducks.
farm ducks.
Interesting.
But no, you know, we did this with Troy and stuff. We talked a little bit about hunting, but we could talk about it all night. Do you want to plug any sponsors or shout anybody out with
Yeah.
who you guys run around with?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely got to give a huge shout out to Rec Pro. You know, they're my title sponsor this year for pretty much every year I've been fishing. Those guys have been helping me out for a really, really long time, and without those guys, you know, I wouldn't be able to do what I want to do and do what I love. And Garmin, you know, gotta shout them out. I mean, they give me the tools to go out and be able to find fish with my forward-facing sonar, and also with side imaging and down imaging and all the stuff that comes with those great units. And DNR Sports Center, obviously, Van Dam Nation. That's that little community over there in Kalamazoo has been something that's been with me for a long, long time. Obviously, like I was telling you guys earlier, I mean, growing up around those guys and being able to experience fishing and getting to see it and getting to see all the big titles won, and you know, it's just seems like it's just a clan of winning over there. It's just
You making so many people jealous of even just growing up around some guys like that. I mean, having the opportunity just to know them personally like that. I mean,
oh yeah, I
it's
mean,
insane.
yeah, that's just the community that's over there. I mean, when I was hanging out with the Zona boys and stuff, you know, getting to be around Mark Zona and stuff all the time. I mean, it's the way you see Mark on TV is the way he acts all the time, like that goofy doing them little jokes.
Yeah.
Like that's him. I mean, but all those guys have helped me along the way and are hopefully continue helping me, you know, getting me to where I need to be to further along my career and hopefully make the elites one day. And then obviously parents and girlfriend and stuff, you know, without that family support that I got at home. I mean, dude, honestly, the biggest thing in fishing, besides the money and besides actually fishing, is the support that you have. I mean, if you don't have a good support system, you might as well just pack your bags, because if without that support, it is very tough to keep going, because there's been some tournaments where I've been sitting there going, do I really want to do this anymore? And, you know, it's just having that support going, you can do it. You just got to keep pushing. So, no, just thank you to all of them, and then thank you for you guys obviously having me up here.
Yeah,
I mean,
course,
it's been fun getting to talk fishing, talking hunting, and you can't beat that. So
Well, we've barely scratched the surface on hunting. We paused for a little while, but I mean, going on some time, I feel like like I said, we could talk all night, and I'm sure we'll talk for another hour or two while playing pool or cornhole after the fact here. But
there we go.
I mean, I'm just thankful for, you know, you coming out and Troy coming out and you know, you guys meeting and us finally meeting.
Yeah, it was cool, man. It's nice to meet you, Bo.
Yeah, no, it was good meeting all
We'll
you guys. that's for
definitely have to
sure.
do some work together here.
Yeah, we'll get in touch with each other and go through some dots.
I don't want to be a part of all that, because that sounds a little weird if you ask me. No. Anybody else you want to shout out or anything? You want to plug your Instagram or anything?
Yeah, and if any of you guys listening want to go out and look at my Instagram, it's at Bo Thomas Fishing. That's pretty much all my social media plugs, Facebook and Instagram. I'm not on that Twitter stuff, so.
Nah, Twitter. No, I'm good on all that.
No, but that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna start a YouTube deal. I'm gonna try doing that. I need to get better at doing some of the social media stuff, so I think I'm gonna try doing that and do some more videos and stuff. And no, that's pretty much it, man.
Troy, you want to plug anybody in?
You know, if you didn't listen to it, listen to the other podcast. But hey, I'm trying to grow the socials too. So Troy Stokes Fishing, that's my Instagram, and otherwise Facebook. I'm not doing a whole lot right now.
No, yeah, he's got all your sponsors, or you have all your sponsors on.
Yeah, it's on my Instagram. If you look at the highlights, got a lot of good ones, and you know, my title sponsor is Lineage Logistics, so it's kind of some of those non-endemic companies. They help you out a big time, especially when you're starting. So, you know, give a shout out to them again.
No, you know, before we end it all, big shout out to GK Calls, which we've been talking to about those guys a lot over there.
Mm-hmm.
Can't express how much appreciate those guys and their calls and just everything in general. I mean, just a great company to work with. Migra Ammunition. Have you ever hunt or shot any of that?
Mm-mm.
They have the original stack loads and just absolutely pound the shit out of the birds.
Nah, I have to probably steal a couple boxes. From
Well,
you.
that's fine. I can do that. Absolutely love shooting that stuff. SX decoys help us out a ton. So big shout out to those guys. You know, my sister and her paracord lab, she does like lanyards, gunslings, bow slings, turkey totes, duck totes. I mean, anything you think of. And then like the gator decoys guys. They have the extensions. So they got their Mojo sticks.
Mm-hmm.
They got, instead of like pushing all the little buttons together and having 20, 30 different sticks together, it's one stick, loosen up a screw, raise it however high you want to do it. At the end of the day, close it right back down. Like, say you're hunting 10 foot of water, you can just raise it back up and you don't got to worry about, I'm missing the poke around the bottom of it or the T at the top. Like, it's just all
Right.
one piece.
Yeah.
Those guys down there are just absolutely phenomenal guys to be working with. They came up with us last year, and I can't say enough good things about those guys. Point Moulet, I don't know if you've ever been there or not. The festival, this was our first year doing it, and it was an absolute blast. We can talk about that a little bit after too, but it was a great time. I mean, you meet so many different people like you just talked about, and then the Gibraltar Duck Hunters Association, kind of getting the mix with those guys. They'll be on here soon again. We had them on a short little podcast, which, it was at the festival, so it was a little noisy and whatnot. But I mean, other than that, anything else you guys want to talk about or tag or?
No, other than
I'm ready to beat
if
you guys
you're
in the pool. That's what I'm ready for.
other than if you guys are in the Kalamazoo area, make sure you do stop in at DNR Sports Center. Give them guys a look. They got pretty much everything from hunting to fishing. So yeah, pretty much.
Van Dam Warehouse too. Actually, I do order from Van Dam Warehouse online.
See,
Van
It
Dam
comes,
Warehouse.
it comes like next day.
Trav used to work there.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a secret hack. If you don't want to wait like a week for your tackle warehouse order, just order it from Van Dam Warehouse. If you're in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, it comes literally in like a day or two every time.
They are,
and they have stuff in stock. That's
they
the
are
big
definitely
difference.
on top of making sure everything's in stock and stuff. So that's a little plug. That's something different we're gonna do next year with the logo. I mean, obviously you saw it with Ron Nelson. I mean, he's got Van Dam Warehouse everywhere, and you don't see very much. I mean, DNR Sports obviously is the father company of Van Dam Warehouse.
Right,
but
yeah.
No, Van Dam Warehouse it's legit. So make sure you guys all go in there and check that out.
Well, Bo, I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate doing it on such short notice. I appreciate you blowing you off on Instagram because I missed like 8 of your phone calls on there. I felt so bad afterwards. But this year you guys get some downtime. I'd love to have both of you guys out in the field and maybe I'll get out on one of the boats this spring at least.
Let's do it.
Anytime. We'll get you out there cruising on the Rec Pro wagon. You ain't got to worry about that.
I mean, as long as you guys got seat belts, that'll be all right. But no, this year, let's plan something on the field, though. Come over here, grab a buddy or whatever, bring them over here. We'll do another podcast, talk more about hunting and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get down with it. So
Cool.
I appreciate you again. Troy, I appreciate you being
thanks,
here.
man.
And until next time.